Hello and welcome back to AAT's podcast, episode number 9, with myself, Addi of Antibiotics.
And me, Aiden Riley.
Good afternoon, Aiden.
Good afternoon, Addi.
How are you?
Not bad. It's a nice day.
Surprisingly, yeah. Alright. So as we're concluding today with the trilogy talk, we are concluding with the Karate Kid Part 3. And in all honesty, before we get started, it wasn't the greatest one out of all of them.
No, not a chance.
No. I mean, to be honest with you, there could have been a bit more better character development.
Yes.
There could have been a bit more of a better plot twist.
Yep.
A twist would have made this movie so much better.
Yes.
Especially towards the ending of it.
Yes.
And you have new characters come into play. And one of them actually just definitely steals the show from the beginning. And that is definitely the character Terry Silva, played by Thomas Ian Griffith. This was actually his starring role. His movie debut. Because if you look at it in the opening sequence, it says, the opening credits, it says, introducing Thomas Ian Griffith as Terry.
Yep.
Yeah.
And what a show he put on, right?
Yeah, let's show Mr. Kreese how he's going to get his business back. You owe me a lot more than that, Danny boy. No, he did have some pretty cool one-liners. I think, in a way, he was definitely like the Darth Maul out of Cobra Kai. Kreese is definitely Darth Vader, the Emperor. And he's definitely... Okay, yeah, so I'll say Silva's definitely the Darth Vader.
Yeah,
Kreese
he's the Darth
Emperor.
Vader. Kreese is the Darth Maul. Because he's a lot more menacing than Kreese.
I think between the two of them, Silva has better martial arts skills.
Yeah.
Because in real life, Thomas Ian Griffith, who played Terry Silva, is actually a legit martial artist. I watched an interview with him, and he said, the reason I got into martial arts because I was always getting into fights at school, but it gave me kind of like a discipline advantage to, you know that saying goes, better to have it and not need it, not have it.
Yeah.
And he's actually well trained in Taekwondo, the Korean martial art, which utilizes a lot of kicking. Mm-hmm. And he's also quite trained in Kempo karate, which is kind of like, it's pure street art. It's not governed by rules. And there's a movie we need to watch. I've already seen it. It's one of my favorite martial arts movies of all time. And this movie actually showcased Kempo to the world. And the guy who played it, who was in the movie, Jeff Speakman, he's a legendary Kempo karate instructor. And yeah, trust me, when you watch this movie, I've got some really...
It's an 80s movie.
Early 90s.
Oh, right, okay.
But we can make it... I want to make an exception because it is one of the best films ever. It's got no CGI, no wireworks, no stunt. This is a proper, legit martial art that this guy brought to the cinema.
Oh, we need to watch it.
Oh no, you have to watch it. Like I say, it's one of the best ever.
Okay.
Really, it was.
Deal.
Oh, sorry, deal. Right. So as we were talking, the plot of Karate Kid 3 starts off exactly 1 year after. So in the storyline, it picks up 1 year after the first part of Karate Kid. Because if you look at the opening sequence, you have all the flashbacks. It's more of a flashback of part 1 than you have of part 2.
Yes.
Because the only flashback they bring in of part 2 was basically the parking lot scene where Kreese is choking Johnny, and Mr. Miyagi goes and intervenes and saves Johnny. Because he knows he's going to kill this kid if he doesn't jump in and save him. And he basically says, when he's about to do the chop and, hark, and he throws him to the ground, and it's still good comedic timing.
Funny, yeah.
Good comedic timing by Pat Morita. And he says that, basically, when you could have killed him, but why didn't you? He goes, because, Daniel, so I'm a person with no forgiveness in heart, living even worse punishment than death. And he's right.
You can't get any more truer than that.
You couldn't get any more truer than that. And then when he's saying that, it jumps to part 3. You're seeing what's happened to Kreese. He looks depressed. He looks drunk. He looks like,
It's a great start to the film.
It was a good start, but why couldn't it have continued being good? I'm sorry to say that, but fans of the first 2 movies were probably expecting something better. They were expecting it to... I was as well. They were expecting it to be even better. Because, part 1, all-time classic. Part 2, just as good. Part 3, meh.
Just...
It did, because it didn't do that much money at the box office.
It's like there's just one, film 1, film 2, film 3.
And film 4.
Oh, yeah, let's not mention that one.
Yeah, we're not going to mention that. We're not going to mention that one. And it's like the reason why Ralph Macchio said, they asked him, why couldn't you do part 4? And he goes, I didn't want to be known as, his exact words were, I don't want to be known as the Sylvester Stallone of Karate Kid movies, because that time Stallone was raking up numbers with all the Rocky franchise, and I think he just about to do Rocky 5.
Yeah, that was that was terrible.
But we still have to review it because it's going to be a part of the saga down the line.
Yeah.
So in the movie of Karate Kid 3, Kreese has gone down the drain. He's lost all his students because of what he did. Believe it or not, at the end, I don't know if I mentioned this, but believe it or not, at the end of Karate Kid 2, when he did that thing to Johnny Lawrence, when he tried to choke him, all the other Cobra Kai students were going to take off their jackets and throw it in front of him to say, we're leaving you for good after what you just did. And he blames Daniel and Mr. Miyagi for costing him his business. Because if you look at it, when he walks into the dojo, it's not been open for nearly 9 months. He's had all those final notices of bills.
Yeah, he's got the bills, got the eviction notice, he's got the phone bill, he's got everything.
The answering machine, and then you have Pat Johnson, the referee, who, like, again, trained a lot of the actors in the movie. And
so they're not welcome in the tournament anymore.
They said, if you don't pay your dues, we have to drop the Cobra Kai from the membership rules. And then you have the phone company ringing him up, and he goes, right, that's it, I'm done, I'm leaving. I'm going to go say goodbye to Terry and leave. And then you find out down the line that Terry Silva and him met each other in Vietnam.
Yeah, again, it's a great start to the film.
And Terry Silva was a great addition to this. I think, personally, Terry Silva...
He saved the film.
He saved the film. He definitely saved the film. He didn't...
Him and Mike Barnes, right?
Yeah.
Him and Mike Barnes were the saviors
of a bad movie. Yeah. Saviors of a bad movie. Let's just call it that. Let's just call it that.
And you're correct. They were the saviors of a bad film.
So yeah, as we mentioned, Terry Silva definitely saved that movie, and so did Mike Barnes. And so we can go into character details now. So basically, Kreese has gone to. Continuing on with the plot, Kreese has gone to ask Terry for help.
Yep. Because
he's broke and he wants to make Cobra Kai the #1 dojo in the valley, as he says. And he goes, oh no, I'm going to leave. I'm done with this place. He goes, no, you're not leaving. You're going off to Tahiti right now. That was some good acting by Thomasine Griffith when he goes, I'm broke and I'm going nowhere. No, you're wrong. You're going to Tahiti now. And he goes, all right, take him to the airport. He drops him off. He goes, well, you go relax. I'll handle everything here. He's like, no, let's forget it. He goes, no, I want to do it. You can tell Terry Silva is crazy.
The moment you first see him, he's got this aura that he just gives off where you go, you do not want to mess with this guy.
You don't want to mess with him. He's a big dude.
Yeah.
He's like 6'5".
Yeah.
He's a tall guy.
He's a beast.
He is. He is. He definitely is. And then you have so Daniel and Mr. Miyagi have just flown back from Okinawa, and then you find out the apartment building they're living in has been sold. And Daniel's homeless. Mr. Miyagi is now jobless and unemployed. He can't do the handyman anymore. And then, be the handyman anymore. And then you've got Daniel moving in with him. And he goes, all right, then we might as well open up a bonsai store. And in the same time, Silva's planning his revenge for Kreese, where he's like, I will buy all the locations. We'll buy 20 locations. I'll give them to you. Do you want anything else? He goes, no, don't worry about it. Just make his knuckles bleed. And he says that he's giving.
That's what Kreese says to
Silva on the phone. And that was one of my favorite scenes in the whole film. And you just see the evil, menacing plan this guy is doing, which is really hilarious. And then you have him looking through all the magazines, and he comes across Mike Barnes. But one thing he doesn't call his name right away. He just looks at him and says, "Karate's bad boy, Mike Barnes." Whew, perfect. Yeah. He's smoking that big fat cigar. Perfect. And then he goes, okay, I'm going to hire this guy. And then he brings him down.
Great introduction to
Barnes.
Barnes.
Yeah, played by Sean
And obviously
Kanan.
when he enters the fray, it's an even better introduction because of how he just...
Definitely.
You can tell from the get-go that Silva just falls in love with this guy. It's just like...
He's like a young...
This guy is amazing. Yeah. He's going to get the job done. No problem. He reminds me of myself.
I was just about to say that as well. Because Silva looks at Barnes like a young version of Silva. how he was back in Vietnam. He's crazy. And then they asked Sean Kanan, I watched an interview with Sean Kanan who played Mike Barnes. They said, how would you describe, the interview asked him, how would you describe Mike Barnes? And his exact words were, he's like a 17-year-old white Mike Tyson.
Yeah. And that's not, it's not a bad comparison.
He's not wrong.
And he is in the film. You can tell the way he talks, the way he's so confident in himself.
Yeah.
And how strong he is. When you see him actually fighting in the film, you know, he's so ruthless, isn't he? It's like he's a lot better than Johnny Lawrence.
Johnny Lawrence, I would say Johnny Lawrence, I wouldn't call him tough. He's tough.
He's tough, yeah, but
he's
Barnes
tough.
Is something else. He's just...
Barnes has been winning tournaments up and down the country. That's why Silva hires him.
Yeah.
To, obviously, because his plan was, if Barnes beats Daniel in the upcoming tournament, people will flock to Cobra Kai. That's why we buy all these locations. That's why towards the end of the film you see Silva making the announcement saying we're about to open a chain of Cobra Kai dojos. So if people see him fight there and win the tournament, they go, okay, we'll go to Cobra Kai.
I can be like this guy.
Yeah.
If he wins, obviously they will be like him, and then they'll be winning trophies too.
Yeah, exactly. And then so you got these two characters, Terry Silva. You got Mike Barnes, who are new to the screen. Daniel, on the other hand, he's alright at first. I know, a lot. That
saw my reaction.
That expression on your face was just priceless. And
we'll talk more about it.
Yeah, you see that, everybody. Yeah. And what happens was, then you see Daniel, I want to compete in the tournament, but Mr. Miyagi is trying to put a bit more wisdom into him. And he goes, look, if karate is used to defend life and defend honor, he's probably basically saying that to him, what he's just experienced in Okinawa, where he's just had the fight with Chosen. And he's saying, well, you use the karate to defend your life, defend your honor, because there wasn't a trophy for you or Chosen to win. He's saying, no, you could have been killed.
Life or death.
It was a life or death situation. It was an actual...
That's what self-defense is for.
Yeah, exactly, yeah.
You know, it shouldn't really be made for, but yes, okay, fair enough, trophies are involved, but it should never... It's not the actual reason... It shouldn't be the actual reason why people get involved in self-defense. It should be for the actual reason of defending yourself. Never use it.
Yeah, exactly.
Only use it if someone decides to come up to you with, I don't know, just some kind of weapon, or decides to just start a fight with you. Yeah. And you go, no, okay,
I'm going to disable this.
Not going to stand for this.
No.
I'm going to take this guy out, not viciously, because you don't need to. And then there you go. Not glory though, not glory. No glory.
No, there's no glory.
That's what Miyagi's trying to say to Daniel. Yeah, it should never be for glory. It should be always for self-defense.
Yeah, because if you look at it, Mr. Miyagi was trained to just defend himself. Again, going back to how he described Karate Kid 1 and the differences between Kreese's style and Miyagi's. Kreese's style is basically an offensive sport, where the term no mercy comes from. Be merciless and be brutal. Whereas Mr. Miyagi's form is a defensive art. If somebody's going to come my way, I know how to defend myself. I'm just not going to choose to announce it. Basically, Mr. Miyagi is trying to say to Daniel, you don't need to prove anything anymore. There's no Cobra Kai. Johnny Lawrence is out of the picture. Kreese is out of the picture. What they don't know, Kreese is plotting everything behind the scenes. Silva's plotting everything behind the scenes. And then you have one good scene in that is as you mentioned, Mike Barnes turns up and he says to Silva, thanks for bringing me down, Mr. Silva, and he
starts off all polite first.
He does in a way, and then he goes, right, I want 50% instead of 25%, and he goes, well, I can't afford more than 35. He goes, all right, I'm off then. All right, and then he goes, do you fight as hard as you negotiate? No, harder. All right, you got your 50%. Now get that in writing by noon today. And he goes, you just bought yourself a champion. You remember that. And he's like, I'm investing in you. You better make sure you are worth the investment. And he's like, all right, go show him where he's staying. And then when you see him the next time round...
But when he turns and leaves... Yeah. Silva goes to, his secretary. Yeah. He goes, what do you think? She goes, he's a little obnoxious.
He goes, no, he's perfect.
And he goes, he's perfect. And he just smokes his cigar again, doesn't he?
Yeah, a big fat cigar.
He's like, yeah.
I mean, what a way to do business while you're in a steam room and then he's having champagne. You can tell it's a very expensive bottle of champagne.
Yeah, definitely.
And then he's in the steam room in his house. Then you see him the next time round, and you see him again conducting business having a bubble bath
in the hot
in the hot tub. Sorry, yeah.
Yeah.
And he just says to people, my blue pinstripe. Did you know in real life, Thomasine Griffith, who played Terry Silva, is actually 5 to 6 months younger than Ralph Macchio?
And that is insane.
It is. Believe it or not, Ralph Macchio at the time was 27, 28 when he did Karate Kid Part 3, and he's still looking like a teenager. He's done well. He's looked after himself.
Silva looked like, God, he looked old, didn't he?
Well, because if you look at him, his height and his size gave it away.
Yeah.
He's 6'5".
Yeah.
Well, Ralph Macchio is only nearly enough 6 feet.
It is crazy though, because he does look twice his age.
Yeah.
So he's obviously aged a lot quicker than Daniel has.
Yeah,
and you just think, wow, him and Ralph Macchio, there's no competition here at all.
There isn't.
No competition at all. He'll beat his ass.
Yeah,
really
and one more thing, when you see Mr. Miyagi training Daniel, each movie has a special move in it, and it's going to come to help Daniel down the line. In part 1, you have the crane kick, the legendary,
and the wax on, wax off.
Yeah, and then everything, the whole maintenance chores, does everything for him, and then you have in part 2 the drum technique. Yeah, the drum technique, which was bang, 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 the counter punch.
Yeah.
And then you have in part 3 the kata. What kata is, for those who do not know, is visualized martial arts movement. I did a bit of kata when I was training in Shotokan karate, and one of the things my sensei, Sensei Bunting, hope you're doing well, and I hope he gets the message. And so basically, what it means is, like, if someone's going to throw the punch at you, you know how to block it upwards. And somebody's going to come at you, then you know how to move it out of the way. It's like you're going like that, and then you're doing that, and you're doing the counter punch and everything. It's visualizing the martial arts movement that you're being trained in. And then you also have, and then so basically you see at the end where Silva's went throughout the movie where Silva's training him. When he's very crafty when he's training Daniel, and he says, kata is good for working up a sweat. It's not good for helping you in a tournament. It's not going to help you win a fight. That's why he's trying to drain all the Miyagi.
He's trying to get all the Miyagi teachings out of him and twist him around so he can lose the fight.
Yeah, exactly. It's like, as you mentioned, literally now, as you just mentioned, when he says, the way he goes, can you... When he says when he's in the steam room talking to Silva, and he goes, when I'm finished with that kid, he'll be begging me to be his teacher. And what's he going to learn from me? Pain in every part of his body and fear in every part of his mind. And here's the kicker, he's going to thank me for it. He's already planned it all. And he goes, what about the old man? Him I'm going to hurt through the kid. And he does.
Oh, yes, he does.
He does. When Mr. Miyagi, when he's shouting, when 2 scenes brings out. First scene was Daniel's walking in limping after hitting his foot on the dummy. And he goes, and Mr. Miyagi goes to him. And then he's lying to Mr. Miyagi. Yeah. Mr. Miyagi's figured it out, saying, "Oh
Daniel,
no,
what have you done?
Yeah,
what's gone off here? Why are you walking in like this?" And Daniel's like, "Just leave me alone. It's got nothing to do with you.
Yeah.
I'm doing this. It doesn't matter. I'm going to do this anyway."
Yeah.
He lies to him, doesn't he?
He's lying to him from part 1, from the first get-go. And then you have him again where he's whacked his elbow on the dummy as well. And Silva's in the background laughing hysterically. That was such an evil...
That was good. And then he walks away.
He's
and then he hides behind the wall.
Yeah.
And he listens to him, doesn't he? And then all of a sudden you hear him punching the board.
Elbowing it, yeah.
And he's like, and he just starts to laugh. That is just...
It's just good acting. It's good acting.
It's great because he's so menacing, isn't he? He's laughing quietly.
While he's
quietly.
Yeah.
You can see his facial expression. You think, this guy is mean.
Even that scene where Daniel says to him after the first time around, "I really appreciate you helping me." He's like, "You're welcome." And then he walks away, he's like, like that.
Yeah. It's like, man, I ain't helping you.
I'm not helping you.
I'm destroying you, son.
You don't know it. You don't know it. And then And then, so like I said, one scene where, so one story I like to tell is how the actor Sean Kanan got the part of Mike Barnes. So basically, I watched a couple of interviews with him, and so they asked he was on another podcast, and they asked him like they were showing him a clip of him in Karate Kid, and they were saying it was that scene in the bonsai store. Not the first time, the second time, but that he's actually having the fight with Daniel.
Yeah.
And he watched it and he goes, he's so arrogant in that movie, Mike Barnes, and Sean Kanan's exactly. They asked him, so when you look at this film after so many years, what do you remember the most? And he goes, well, the funny thing is how I first got this part was, so this is quoting Sean Kanan, he goes, what happened was the head of his martial arts organization is by a guy by the name of Fumio Demora. And Fumio Demora is a grand master of karate, and he was actually Pat Morita's stunt double. I don't know if you knew that.
I have no idea.
Yeah, he basically, the fence fight scene you see in part 1, where Mr. Miyagi's knocking all the Cobra Kai students away, that was actually Sensei Demora. And you can see how phenomenal he was.
Yeah, but the thing is, he looks so much like Miyagi.
He does. And they did now that you mentioned it, they did a real documentary on him called The Real Miyagi, that he is like the real life Mr. Miyagi. He had a similar background to Mr. Miyagi when he first came to America, suffering a lot of hate, suffering a lot of abuse.
Racism, everything.
Yeah. And then he started teaching people karate, and they started obviously liking it and all that. He's actually trained in real life with legendary martial artists such as Michael Jai White, who's known for Blood and Bone and Spawn, the original Spawn.
What films?
What a movie that they were.
Blood and Bone, man.
And he's trained with Steven Seagal. Steven Seagal is not just known for his Aikido. He's actually holds black belts in karate, I think judo and kendo, which is a sword martial art. And he's also trained with Dolph Lundgren, and he's also trained with Sean Kanan, who played Mike Barnes. So he said to him, Sean, you want to be in Hollywood? You go. They have open call for a bad guy. And he turned up at the casting director's door with his SAG card. SAG card stands for Screen Actors Guild. It's like an insurance card, and in the US. And then he then turned up at the casting director's door. He goes, I'm a real actor. Here's my SAG card. Do I have to go to the open call, or could I audition now? He goes, no, you have to go to the open call. So you get there, and there was 2,000 people outside auditioning for this one role.
That's insane.
2,000. And then he goes, all right. So John Avildsen was turning up, the director. So he quickly got his attention. He had 2 seconds to get his attention. He did a little improv, and Avildsen said, all right, I buy that. And he left the line, went inside.
That would really, if I was one of those people in the queue, I would have been so angry.
You would be, because you're waiting in line for hours.
I was just like, who's this guy? Why is this guy managing to do this? And I think I'd try and do it myself. I'd be like, hey,
you would try and do it yourself.
I bet they did. I bet there was a few people that tried it.
You never know.
2,000 people, so they would have stepped up and go, hey, what about me? And they're like, no, just get back.
Yeah, get back in the queue. Stay there.
Stay.
And then you had so he went inside, and there was Ralph Macchio on set. Now, what happened was, he said, can you intimidate Ralph Macchio? And he went on and intimidated him quite a bit. And he goes, all right, we buy that. But then they hired another person.
Wow.
And he goes, but they only kept this other person on for like 4 days, and it didn't work out. And they gave him a call. He was in his little apartment above a nightclub where he was staying. And the phone rang and said, can you get over to the studio now, like right now, like yesterday?
He was depressed though, wasn't he?
He said that, those were his exact words. He goes, I was really depressed. I thought I had the role. I thought I had a chance, but then this happened. And then he went down to the studio. He got in his car, went down, and he said, all right, I'm here. Let's do it. He goes, okay, do another screen test. Can you do some karate? At that time, it was actually a green belt in karate. And you could tell.
That's close to the black belt, right?
Quite close enough. What I would say is quite getting there. It's getting there. It could be like halfway in between.
Yeah.
And then he did the screen test and said, all right, that's fine. Now go to wardrobe. They just sent him to wardrobe and said, all right, this is how much money you're making. You start immediately. Start training. This is your life from now on. So fast forward 2 weeks, they break for Christmas, and he went to Las Vegas with his then girlfriend. and he's at this hotel. What happened was he was suffering a very bad pain in his left thigh, and he thought it was from all the karate he was doing. So what he did was he started taking a lot of aspirin, but what he didn't realize, aspirin was making the injury even worse.
Yeah. And how did he get that?
So basically what happened was, I think it was the scene where he did this stunt, a really stupid stunt, where he had to jump, land in a way, and make sure, and then he got injured. And then what he did was he perforated his omentum, which wraps around the intestines. He did it for like 20 takes.
Whoa!
So I think it was the scene, you know, where Daniel's gone back to the dojo to say to Silva, I'm not going to compete in the tournament. And Silva shows his true agenda, and Kreese and Barnes turn up.
Yep.
And then Barnes has attacked Daniel, and Daniel's run out of the dojo. And then Kreese goes, you know, I want to see a lot more. He brings him back in. And then what he doesn't realize is Mr. Miyagi's out there. Mr. Miyagi throws him inside. I think it was that injury. I think it was him landing through the doors, crashing through the doors, landing through there, what caused the injury. 20 takes. And then, you know, like I said, he injured his leg. And then he goes, I was at the blackjack. I was at the tables at the Dunes Hotel with my girlfriend. And he had 3 $100 bills. And he goes, I think I'm going to pass out. Bang, hit the floor, passed out. Paramedics came to retrieve him. They had to rush him to the hospital. He had the girl call his parents, who lived in Pennsylvania, and they could only get 1 ticket to come out and see him. And he goes, they said to him, well, we have to operate on you. What, on Monday? No, in 15 minutes. But you need to sign a waiver because we don't know if we can save your life. Because he was bleeding internally. And they operated on him. He came through. And he had staples going all the way up his stomach. And he goes, the studio
That's
goes...
That's insane, isn't it?
It was. They said that, you know, because of what happened, the studio goes, all right, you need to be back at the studio within 5 days. Yeah. You need to be back in 5 days. And...
That's vicious, isn't it?
It's a vicious...
That's business.
It's
business, show business.
Same thing he says, he goes, that was one of the best lessons he ever learned. He goes, I realised then it's called show business and not show friends.
Yeah. So, look, because I heard that nobody got in contact with him when he was there.
No, they did. Yeah. There was no flowers, no notes, how you doing?
Show business.
Show business, yeah. Business, not friends. Yeah. Business, not friends. It's not personal. No. It's money making. Yeah. And then what happened was he discharged himself from the hospital against all medical regulations. He just walked out, and then he had to hire a trainer to get himself back in shape for this role. And then he goes, by the end, they said the original plan was then, somebody has all the close-ups, he does all the close-ups, but they get somebody else to do all the karate.
Not going to happen.
He goes, no, this is not, I'm...
What's the point? He's got no, if he did that, there'll be no pride in that film whatsoever. It'll be just him standing there.
Yeah.
That's it. That's all he'll do. And he'll be just sitting back doing nothing. What's the point?
Yeah, exactly.
You won't be proud of that film at all if you would have done that.
No, even Ralph Macchio wasn't even proud of the film. Believe it or not, even the director John Avildsen said the same thing. He goes, it was a poor imitation of the first part.
But the thing is, right, he would have been proud of his first film.
Yeah,
if he would have had that stunt guy doing all of the kicks and everything, he would have had nothing
and he's trained
into that as well, right?
Yeah,
he would have been. There would have been pointless being in the film at all if that would have happened.
Yeah, because at the end of the day,
that's why he refused to do that.
Yeah, exactly. Because at the end of the day, he wanted to basically show his martial arts. Because as I mentioned, out of all the opponents, of all the actors who played all the Daniel's opponents, Sean Kanan had the most experienced martial arts skills, and you can tell in the movie, like even with the kicks, even I would say Chosen, the actor who played Chosen, Yuji Yakumo, had the second best. And as mentioned when we reviewed part 1,
I think the character was better though,
Chosen than Mike Barnes.
Yeah.
Yeah, but I would love to see in Cobra Kai them to have a fist fight.
I need to watch that then.
Oh, you do definitely. But like I say, what would be quite interesting would be if Chosen and Mike Barnes meet in Cobra Kai. I would love that.
It's going to happen.
I think it will happen. And Johnny Lawrence will be thrown in there as well, because Johnny Lawrence is one of the main characters.
It's like a WrestleMania moment.
Actually, yeah, you're right.
It would be like a WrestleMania moment, like those two have never met.
Yeah.
Who do you think would win?
I would say probably Chosen.
Yeah, I think so as well.
Mike Barnes, the thing about Mike Barnes...
It'll be close. It will be close.
Yeah, because the thing is...
brutal.
Yeah, because the thing is, Mike Barnes, he's aggressive, but that aggression will drain him too quick. Where Chosen now, when you see him, he's a bit more calmer. He's taken a bit more teachings of the Miyagi wisdom.
That is deadly. Calm is deadly.
Calm before the storm.
Yes.
Calm before the storm, bro.
And if you can get to the storm.
Yeah, exactly.
But the calmness will probably kill you first.
Yeah, definitely. And then you have that one bit in there where, so what happened was, he got back in shape, and he managed to heal himself up enough to do the tournament scene, which is what he needed to be ready for. Because I think if you had a stunt double...
Again, what's the point? There's no point in showing up. There's no point in being there.
No.
Because he would have done nothing. What he'll do is take close-up.
That's it.
You don't want a close-up. You want to be actually in the mix, don't you?
Yeah, because you trained hard, you auditioned hard, you got people's attention. And when they asked him, when they look back on the movie, he goes, I realised at 21 years old, I wasn't immortal because of what happened. I had too much pride in me and this, that, and the other. But
you do at that age, don't you?
Yeah, you do. That goes.
It's just natural. Yeah, I'm invincible. I'm young. I'm brutal. I can do anything I want. I can do anything. I can do anything.
Yeah.
But really, no, you can't.
No, you can't.
You learn that when you get older.
Yeah, you definitely do. It goes without saying.
Limitations to anybody.
Oh yeah, definitely. And then you have that's how he got the part. And like I said, people have been campaigning, like proper diehard fans of the movie have been campaigning to Sean Kanan and say, could you please come back and play Mike Barnes in Cobra Kai? And he actually says the same thing. He goes, he's more than interested to come back and play him, because it'd be interesting to see what happened to him after the tournament. Because remember, after the tournament, he just basically walks away. Silva walks away. Kreese walks away. All the people who got given the free Cobra Kai t-shirts threw all the t-shirts back. We don't want to go to Cobra Kai. We'd probably go to Miyagi.
Not a great ending. Not really a great ending.
No. I mean, the one thing that was quite funny about it, throughout the whole movie, Daniel wasn't able to attack Barnes, except the ending. Except that one scene in the bonsai store where Daniel goes, where he's actually hit Barnes twice in the face. He goes, don't do that. Bang. Don't do that. Bang. And he throws him against the window. Barnes was too tough.
Yeah.
He was way too tough.
Yeah, he was giving him the best punches I can give. Well, not the best punches, but he was warning punches. And obviously Barnes is just like, what's that?
Yeah, exactly.
But that's just wussified, isn't it, by Daniel?
It's not his. I think. Yeah, no, it's true. Now that you mentioned it,
what he does to Chosen.
Yeah, that was a fight to the death.
Yeah.
And you're worried about this guy when you're going to be fighting him.
What is the point? It's just the most. They just kill off the character. They killed off Daniel in this film by making him into such a wuss.
What was kind of funny was, now that you mentioned it, at the ending when he goes, I'm afraid of him. It's like, afraid of... You took on the whole Cobra Kai dojo a year ago.
Yeah.
You had a fight to the death against where there was no rules.
Yeah.
There was no trophies to win. There was no cheering crowds on your side. You were far away from the safety of home.
He was in Okinawa.
Yeah, and now you have... now you're back where you belong.
Home.
There's rules, and you're afraid.
Exactly. It makes no sense.
That's what John Avildsen and Ralph Macchio said about the movie, was that the script wasn't where it should have been.
No.
It wasn't where it should have been. The characters weren't developed where they should have been. You only had, I think personally, as you mentioned, without the use of Terry Silva, the introduction of Terry Silva and Mike Barnes, that movie would have been more than destroyed.
Oh yeah. Without those two, the whole film would have been just
a bigger disaster.
Mess. It would have been a mess because nobody would have liked the characters. Because I didn't like Daniel in that film.
I didn't like him.
He was just a whiny little kid who was just running after this girl all the time.
And then he
fall in love.
Yeah, and then he finds out
searching for bloody bonsai trees. Just
because in a way, Mr. Miyagi's saying to him that you've proved a point. You don't need to fight anymore. Delete that now. Let's move on to something else.
Yeah. And Miyagi, he's changed a little bit as well. Not in a bad way, but he's getting really old and frail now. You can tell how he's getting in the film.
Yeah.
And obviously he has that fight scene with Barnes, Silva and Kreese, which is that's one of my favourite scenes, by the way. No, actually no, it is my favourite scene. Other than Barnes' introduction.
Yeah.
But it's just
Silva's introduction.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, and Silva's introduction. But with Daniel, it's just it's just what happened? That's all I want to know. Who gave the direction? Who made that decision to actually say,
I think it's
right, okay, he's come back from Okinawa, he should be a lot more deadlier, he should be a lot more calmer, he should be a lot more smarter, and a lot more older.
But he wasn't.
He's gone back in time, and he's like a little kid again.
That is true, I mean, because you think about it, in part one, I don't think he's that much of a wuss, because he's able to stand up to Johnny Lawrence.
Yeah, he beats him. And
even though Johnny Lawrence is well more trained in karate than he is.
Yeah, he's a lot more smart. He's a very brave kid in that, because Lawrence has had a lot more training.
Yeah.
And he knows that.
Yeah.
But he hasn't had as much training, and he still wins. So,
yeah.
The first version of Daniel is a lot tougher than
the second version.
The third version.
Yeah, sorry, the third version, yeah. But I think part two was like probably the best version of Daniel.
Well, yeah. I think he has to fight to the death.
Yeah, because, that's true. You know, you hit the nail on the head.
Badass version, that one is. He's amazing in that.
He was, yeah. I mean, like, Chosen was badass. He could kick a statue and break it. He does, doesn't he?
Yeah.
When he jumps up and does the flying sidekick.
Yeah.
And, that's one thing. And then you also have Barnes, who just breaks things wherever he can.
Yeah.
And did you know the two actors who play his henchmen in the movie? You have the guy Dennis and Snake. Both those actors actually auditioned for Mike Barnes.
Yeah, they wouldn't have been good for this.
I saw the screen test for Jonathan Adelson, who's actually the director's son. I saw the screen test for him. He was a bit menacing, but to be honest with you, you couldn't buy him.
Not as menacing as Sean Kanan. I mean,
no chance.
They were quite menacing, but there was they wouldn't have suited Mike Barnes
No chance.
at all.
And
we wouldn't have known any different if they would have got the part.
Yeah.
Because obviously we wouldn't have known of Sean Kanan, but it wouldn't have had the same effect as Sean Kanan.
It wouldn't have. It wouldn't. Never have. Not in a million years.
And that would have destroyed the film.
Definitely. And then you also had what's his name, and then so you have Christopher Paul, who played Dennis. He's a legit martial arts instructor in real life.
You can tell.
You can tell, especially with them. It's that one scene, the scene where they're training Barnes, like all four of them are training him. You have Silva, Kreese, Dennis, and Snake training him in the dojo. He's breaking the bricks. It's that one scene where Dennis does that flying spin kick. And you can tell that was a real martial arts move. And you can tell that was him doing it.
It was a badass move.
He was a badass move, yeah. I remember the first ever time I saw that movie. It was a very long time. It was about a year after it came out, a couple of years. I thought for a split second that was Daniel doing the spin kick.
Yeah.
I honestly thought that, because he kind of had the same haircut. And then, as we were mentioning as well, that the director, John Allison, hated the movie himself. He goes, his exact words were, "We're a horrible movie and a poor imitation of the first one."
It was an imitation of the first one, wasn't it?
It was, because
it had no flavour of its own. It was just pure copy of the first
which was,
one. It was
awful.
It was that Poundland version, wasn't it? It was terrible.
It definitely, yeah. Good way of putting it. Good way of putting it, bro. I think what would have made the movie a bit better would have been if they kept a few twists. For example, you see Barnes, but you don't know who he's talking to. You see, the fact that from the beginning Silva and Kreese are working together. What would have been a much better plot twist at the end would have been, the scene where Daniel goes to the dojo and he goes to Silva, "I don't want to compete in the tournament, but thanks for everything. You're competing in the tournament." And he goes,
"After all I've done for you."
No, when he goes, that's one thing he says. But the other thing when he says that, "From the moment you met me, I've been making you do things you didn't want to do." He goes, "What are you talking about?" He goes, "Let's show him what I'm talking about." And Barnes turns up. That would have been so much better than the ending. So then at the beginning where Barnes is hired by Silva. I think that would have made that movie so much better.
What, to make out that Silva is actually on his side?
Without us knowing about it too earlier in the movie.
Yeah, because they do, that's the thing, isn't it? I mean, it's quite underwhelming as well when you find out that, oh, I already knew that.
Yeah.
So I'm not really bothered.
No.
Why does this matter?
It's like that scene again where where Barnes goes to the house to talk to Daniel, like, why did he call the police on him? And Silva turns up to, quote, protect Daniel, unquote. And Silva's like, oh, that's not what karate is about. It's about defense, remember? And he goes, yeah, you're right. I'm sorry. When he's like, no, he's planned, or this is the guy who's pulling all your strings. He's pulling his strings as well. That would have been good, again, if we had known about their partnership in the beginning.
Yeah.
If we had,
again, underwhelming.
Yeah. If we heard about the partnership at the end, where the dojo was set, that would have been so much better. That would have been a much better part 3.
Yeah. No, I agree. Those scenes happen when you don't know it's happening.
Yeah.
Right? So
exactly.
These unveilments, okay, for Daniel, he doesn't know. Obviously, for Daniel, he doesn't know any of this.
No, he doesn't.
But for the people, people that are watching it, it's like, well, I already knew that. So
yeah, exactly.
But now I know what's going to happen. Daniel's going to get into a fight.
Yeah.
This wussy version is going to get his ass kicked.
Yeah.
And then Miyagi's probably going to get turned up because we know full well Daniel can't protect himself because for some reason he's a wussy in this.
Yeah, he is, hands down.
It's too predictable.
It was way too predictable, which wasn't good. I mean, like I said, if they kept a few things quiet until the very end, that would have made, again, a better movie. But they didn't. It's like nobody put any effort into the script.
No, I think, you know what I think? I think they didn't want to do the film themselves. I think that
they did, because if you look at it this way, part 2 made more money at the box office than part 1. So they were thinking, okay, we
can make more money with part 3.
And they didn't. No, it lost a bit more money at the box office. And then you see, like I say, so let's talk favourite scenes. You go first.
My favourite scene...
We'll do 2 favourite scenes. You go first, right. I go second.
So my first favourite scene was the moment when Daniel is rescued by Miyagi.
In the dojo.
Yes, because you saw, I know we've seen Miyagi quite a few times in the first and second one, where he shows off his skill. But this one, he actually shows quite a lot of aggression, don't it?
Yeah.
He shows, you think, what's happening here? Well, this ain't Miyagi. What's going on here? Yeah. Showing his evil streak here. His first one, my first favourite scene.
Yeah.
My first favourite scene is definitely the introduction to. It's the negotiation scene with Silva and Barnes.
Yeah, good scene.
Because you think, this guy's got something here.
Yeah.
But I love the reaction with Silva. It's like, I like this guy.
Yeah, because as mentioned in it, he's like a young version of Silva.
It's like looking at his younger self, or his son.
Because he's kind of in a way adopted him, because he's flown him out, he's putting him in his mansion, and he's like, when he says in it, this place is intense, consider it home.
Yeah.
He says that, consider it home. Don't worry about it. Do what you need to do.
Yeah. You're now officially you're not just a guest here.
Yeah, and then he's like, you get a weekly salary, and you get a car. He's giving him a car to help himself out with, and he's giving him money to work, and then he's also going to give him 50% ownership of all dojos.
Yeah,
job done.
It's not thanks to the negotiation.
Yeah.
That's what I love about it. Who in the right mind will have the balls to go up to somebody like Silva? Because I know I wouldn't dare say to him, "I'll give you 50%," because I'd be afraid to get my neck broken or.
It'd probably break and go.
Kick me through the window would have.
No, I think personally one of Terry Silva's best moves is definitely the roundhouse kick he can do. It's like when he does it on the sparring partners, and then you can tell that's
him.
Legit martial arts.
You can
that's
tell
not a stunt double. I think it may.
You can tell who's natural and not who's natural. You can tell because obviously Ralph Macchio isn't natural. You can tell full well that he's not a natural martial artist in the film.
No.
But when you see an actual person training and fighting in the film, you know full well you're like, he's natural. He's been doing that for years.
Yeah, exactly.
So, what's your favourite scenes?
My favourite scene, I would say, business deals. The evil, you're sensing the evilness of Terry Silva. You're sensing the fact that the first scene, obviously, where he's talking about Kreese, this is what's being planned. I've brought this for you. What do you want else doing? He goes, don't worry about what's happening here. You just have fun over there. And he says that to him, innit? His exact words are...
That's when he's on the bed, isn't it, getting a massage?
Yeah.
Yeah.
There's two
Don't worry about anything. I've got it all under
control. Tahitian.
Yeah. Oh gosh, yeah, they were amazing. They were
and yeah, they were beautiful. And the other scene was again, the business deal scenes were really good. And the other scene is where towards the end of the tournament, where Silva's manipulated the entire crowd.
Yeah, that's a great scene. He's a showman, isn't he? It's like a theatre.
Yes, he is, because like when Kreese asked him, when Barnes had done the illegal kick to the groin move on the opponent before Daniel, and Kreese goes, "Did you teach him that?" He goes, "No, I didn't. That was his."
Well, here's the difference between Barnes and Lawrence. Lawrence looks at Kreese as if to say, "I'm not doing that. Sweep the leg. I'm not doing that. Finish him. Fight." Which is, I don't want to do that.
Yeah.
But
Barnes
is like, "Yeah, I'll do it."
You don't need to tell me to do it.
You don't need to. I'm going to do it anyway. That's the difference between the two.
Yeah, and it was that game plan when he goes to him, remember the game plan. That was another good scene where he goes, remember the game plan. First win a point, then lose a point. Keep the score 0-0. Pulverize him for the full 3 minutes. Then in sudden death, you get the point, we win. I want him to experience pain. First he suffers, then he suffers some more. Kreese and both of them are
That's great, Dad. That's the monologue. That's a great monologue.
It was a great monologue because it was a good plan while it lasted. But it didn't work.
Yeah, but again, when it didn't work, it was a poor execution.
Yeah, and then you see this Barnes is doing whatever they're telling him to do. He's scoring a point, he's then losing the point, and then he does it. He unintentionally wins another point, and then he intentionally loses at that point when he gives him a right cross across the face on Daniel. And then you see Mr. Miyagi getting frustrated, like, I'm going to come up there and kick your ass if you do anything illegal again. And then he's like, the referee's like, one more violation out of you, you're disqualified. And he's like, intentional face contact, penalty point. And he's looking at, when he hits him across the face, the one good piece of acting, one of my favourite bits, what Barnes does, when he hits Daniel across the face and Daniel's fallen down and he's lost the point, he looks at Silva and goes, "Oh, did I just do that?"
That was good, and I loved it. I love Silva's reaction as well.
Like, laughing evil, like that evil look on his face, and he's like saying to Kreese in between, "Look over at Miyagi. Isn't that perfect? What we're doing to him?"
Yeah, Miyagi just looks frustrated and angry, doesn't he?
Yeah, and then you have, Kreese is like Silva's saying all the way through the movie, like he's going to him one time, "Perfect. What are you doing? Do this now." And then when Daniel gets shoved over to Kreese and Silva, he's like, "Now the real pain begins, Danny boy," and he's brutally hitting him. And then Daniel, he struck fear in him, and then Barnes still pushing him, and then he's like, "Did you know the ending scene before the sudden death match began? When Barnes is shouting at Daniel, like, get up, get on that line, get on, you're not a champion, your karate's awful, this." That was actually all ad-libbed by Sean Kanan. None of that was scripted.
That was improv.
Wow. It was all improv. You could tell with all the swear words. And I'm surprised that movie had so much swearing in it compared to the first part.
Made the film a little bit better, I guess.
Sort of, I don't know. And then he gets up, and then what Mr. Miyagi says to him, it's okay to lose to opponent, but don't lose to your fear. Because he knows the fear is not real.
That's when Daniel reveals that he's scared, isn't it?
I'm afraid of him.
Yeah.
Like, that line.
That
was one of the most.
Annoys me. You're like,
it does.
What are you scared for?
Exactly.
You fought to the death.
Exactly, and yet you're afraid of this guy. You're governed by rules. There's regulations. There was rules. There was regulations.
No rules in Okinawa. Again, like we were saying, there was no rules in Okinawa against Chosen.
There wasn't.
So you come out of that alive, right? And you've been through a typhoon as well.
Barnes should be nothing compared to this.
So he went for a typhoon, right? He saved people's lives. He spoke to what was his name again?
Sato.
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 That guy is
really
menacing and intimidating.
Like I said when we reviewed part 2.
And he beats Chosen in a to the death match.
Yeah, exactly.
And I'm scared too.
Oh, that was like, who are you? I had that same. I think a lot of fans of that movie said the same thing. Who is this guy? This is not the Karate Kid. He's like the Wusu kid.
No, I'm scared.
And then when he gets up and he does the kata, and when You can see Kreese, Silva shouting at him, going, "Come on, Danny boy, get up!" And the crowd's reaching.
That was good because what Miyagi says to him to actually make him, make him get up.
Yeah, exactly.
And make him fight.
Yeah, exactly. And then he does the kata and he confuses Barnes. And Barnes is like, "What's this guy doing here?" And then you see the guy Snake shouting, "Hit him, Mike! He's hallucinating." And then you see Silva and Kreese shouting, "Get the point, hurry up, get the point, we got to win the tournament." And Barnes is about to go in for the final hit, and Daniel just throws him over and hits him to the ribs, and he's won the tournament for 1 point. It was an awful ending.
Rubbish.
It was an awful ending.
Rubbish ending.
And
no, that was supposed to have been an intense, very intense.
The intensity just went out the window.
It's like, will he get the point? Won't he get the point? Don't get me wrong, if they would have went about that differently, that would have been quite an intense and nervy ending.
Yeah.
But because you're questioning, will Daniel lose this? But we just knew he would win.
Yeah, exactly.
And
because
so
it's the plot of the film, the hero's going to win.
Punches, bang, he's done, ending. They walk off. He's like, yay! He gets lifted up. He's won again.
Exactly, that's it. It was an awful ending. And like I said, even Ralph Macchio himself said, it was a bad time working on that movie. Even the girl...
Anticlimax.
Yeah, even the girl, Robin Levy, who played the character Jessica Andrews, who Daniel kind of likes in the beginning, she said Ralph Macchio sometimes was a bit difficult to work with due to the fact that the environment on the scene wasn't where it was.
Yeah, and he was married.
Yeah.
So he had that. He was married a guy he
was a married man in real life, yeah.
And so you think that would have psychologically, do you think that would have played on his mind a bit?
Yeah,
he wasn't married in the first two films, now he's married.
In real life, yeah, because obviously he just got married and everything.
Yeah,
and,
so perhaps he was thinking, there was a few scenes when those two could have kissed, they could have done this.
But she was actually 10 years younger than him at the time, and he's still playing a teenager.
Yeah, so that's another thing that would have gotten a bit awkward.
Yeah, and then what was also weird is, so what was quite funny in Cobra Kai, moving over to that, it's interesting to know what happened to Silva after that tournament. And he mentions it the first time you see him in season 4. He's moved out of that big house, he's gone to a beachfront property. Nice place, by the way. And he hasn't done any karate since that tournament.
30 years ago.
35 years. And Kreese turns up. Kreese calls him out of the blue. They haven't spoken in 35 years. Calls him and says, "Hey, long time." Silva puts the phone down. Doesn't want to talk to him. And then Kreese pops up and he looks at him. Instead of that, do you remember in part 3 when he sees him for the first time, he runs off that little platform, gives him a hug. "Hey, nice to see you, man. Nice surprise." He doesn't do that this time around. He just looks at him and goes, "What do you want?"
It's extremely...
That's his exact words.
Very opposite to what we saw before. It's like, what are you doing here?
And then you see him at the end. So you see Silva. He's still doing well. He's still very wealthy. He's got a nice lady with him, and Kreese has just turned up there, and he's kind of like, Silva says, "I'm living a normal life. I don't want to do that." And he goes, "Back in the 80s, I thought I could conquer the world. I nearly did. Because I was hopped up on certain things and revenge. I spent months terrorizing a teenager."
He's on drugs, wasn't he?
He admits to it in the movie. He goes, I was hopped up on cocaine. And he goes...
So you're looking back now, you can tell.
You could tell how crazy he was with that hyena laugh in the steam room. That was a good piece of acting. Like, this guy is just...
You don't want to mess with that guy.
You didn't want to mess with it. And he still... And then towards the end of that one episode, because he hasn't done karate for a while, he has a wine cellar. There's a bottle of fancy wine there. He just looks at it for no reason. And out of nowhere, the roundhouse kick comes out of nowhere. And again, he shouts that same word, the same kia. "Asa!" And he kicks it and smashes it and everything. And he goes to talk to Kreese and goes, "Why, I was living a normal life. Why did you have to bother me after so long?" And he goes, "Look, you were my oldest friend." He goes, "So many senseis in the valley, why did you have to bother me for?" And then there's another scene in there as well where when they're talking to each other and he goes, "Look, I'm calling you back. I want to finish what we started 35 years ago." He goes, "After that tournament, I hit rock bottom." He goes, I got into Silva goes, "I got into therapy. I found clarity. I don't need
The spiritual now is found his spirit.
That girl who
does
he's with
not want to go back to that time.
No, he doesn't.
And Chris reminds him of that time, so he's like, just go away, please.
Yeah, because there's a scene in it where they do a flashback in season 3 where they're talking about Vietnam, because that's again where Silva and Chris met, was in Vietnam. Chris saved Silva's life, and Silva's exact words to him was, "I owe you. You saved my ass. Anything you ever need, I am there for you your whole life. You hear me, Johnny? Your whole life, I owe you." And you see another flashback scene where they're both getting tattoos done. Silva actually had a tattoo done on his left rib cage, where Chris has the tattoo of the cobra on his bicep, and but Silva's had the tattoo removed. And they were talking. When you see the scene where they're both young, the flashback scene, he goes, "I'll still help you do the dojo, but my wealthy," because Silva's father's very wealthy, and he goes, "If I don't run the business, I'm out of the inheritance. I'll still pay. I'll pay more. You just run the business, but if you need me, I'm there for you." And he does.
He helps him out as much as he can. Loyal. If you want anybody to be your friend, well, I'm not saying that I would like somebody like Silva to be my friend.
Yeah.
Obviously,
he's
just
crazy and
psychotic.
To a certain extent, there is some psychotic.
He's a great loyal friend.
Yeah.
Don't get me wrong.
Yeah.
But you just don't want to be
You
in the
don't
mix
want
with
that guy.
guy.
You do not want that guy. Yeah.
No, but he'll. If you want somebody to, get revenge on somebody if they've done wrong to you, then he'll be a great friend to go to, wouldn't he?
Yeah, he definitely would, hands down. There's no question about that. But yeah, like I say, to sum up everything, Karate Kid 3, on a scale of 1 to 10, what would you give it? I'll give a scale on 1 to 10 as well. Score out of 10, sorry.
I'll give it a 5.
I would say, 5. I'd say maybe a 6, but that's just because of Terry Silva and Mike Barnes.
Yeah.
I think more Terry Silva than Mike Barnes.
Yes, okay, fair enough. Yeah, 6 is a great one. I'd say 5, but 6 is a really good. It's
only because of the one character.
Yeah. It suits it. 6 out of 10.
Yeah. Okay, so
without them, it would have been like a 3 out of 10.
More like a 2.5.
Yeah.
But what was
damn? Okay.
Damn.
Wow.
Yeah. So on a scale, because we just concluded the trilogy, let's both give each of the movies,
and then we'll give it overall score.
Okay, that's fine.
So
part 1.
Part 1.
10, definitely 10.
I'll give it an 8.
Okay, I'll give it a 10. Because it was one of my favourite movies of all time. Part 2?
8.5.
So yeah, I'll give it an 8. It was just as good as part 1.
And 3, 5.
Yeah, I'll still give it a 6.
Okay, but the overall score of the whole trilogy?
Overall score of the old trilogy, I would say maybe a 7.5.
I'll give the same score.
Done.
7.5.
Deal.
Okay.
Deal.
7.5 it is.
7.5 it is, bro. Done. Okay, so that's all the time we have for today's podcast. Again, thank you, Aiden, for always jumping in, bringing your knowledge and your words of wisdom and your reviews and everything.
No problem.
And as I say in it, fear does not exist on this podcast. Not in this dojo. Fear does not exist on this podcast. And
we fear nobody unless you're somebody like Mike Tyson, who I am very
bite your ear off.
And
bite your ear off.
Punch all your teeth in, which
yeah, he definitely would. Yeah,
you wouldn't want to get on the wrong side of that.
No, he definitely wouldn't. And then you definitely have So now this trilogy is concluded. We will be starting a new trilogy pretty soon. We'll be moving into another saga.
Yep.
So then we'll be talking about a couple of certain rivalries.
Yeah, we will reveal when the time comes.
Yes,
but,
yes.
It's going to be an exciting episode to cover.
Definitely. And then next week we have we're not going to tell you what it is, but we do have an action movie to talk about, which starred one of our favourite 80s action stars. And then we're going to start the new trilogy the following week.
Yep.
And then, so please keep tuned. If you made it to the end of this podcast, please give it a thumbs up. And please subscribe if you're new to 80s Podcast, and also turn on notifications for all your...
Yeah, because without that, how are you going to know that we've uploaded?
Exactly. And also we've just joined Spotify.
Yep, so look us up.
And we've just joined Anchor as well, so please have a listen to us whenever you're either at the gym, you're out and about, or you're with somebody, and there you go, tune into a podcast.
Wherever you are,
give
us a listen.
Thank you very much. And also remember, the 80s rocked.
Do rock.
Thank you. Speak you guys soon.
Nice one, buddy.
Thanks, bro.
See you
Have a good
soon.
one. See you soon. Cheers, bro.